other news, yesterday was a really interesting day because I was helping out in a classroom and the co-teacher was like, you can go take your break, just like randomly. Like we were, helping the kids. She was like, you can go take your break and then go pick them up at 11:45. So it was 11:11 when I looked at my phone. And then I went upstairs to the break room. I started preparing my food, and my phone starts ringing. I look at it, and it's the guy that I made a video about, the one who basically has another woman and wants me to be like his second wife and whatever, that we used to date before. He called me out of the blue, and our conversation was very interesting, very weird, very filled with awkward silences that I knew he wanted to say something but didn't say it. And I kept getting the message to just let him talk. Like, there was a lot that I could have said. I could have had an attitude. I could have been upset. I could have been all these things, but I was just like very calm, very like, oh, it's nice to hear from you. Like, didn't mention the fact that I had, asked him to help me out with something, like, and he didn't mention it either. And so it was just kind of like a little bit of a confirmation that the way things were in our relationship before is the exact same way it's going to be now if we were to ever get back together. Because the lack of communication, the lack of honesty is still there. And I find myself, because in some situations I'm very open, I'm very honest. And then in other situations, I find myself behaving in ways that I wouldn't normally behave. And then I have to, like, kind of take a step back and reflect and be like, all right, it was something about the energy that that person was putting off, clearly. Because if I'm not operating like that by myself, like, for example, if I'm not lying to myself and I'm not a dishonest person, or I'm not a closed off person, normally I get on here and I tell the whole world my business. So clearly I'm not a closed off and person who just kind of clams up and keeps everything to myself. So if that energy comes out around a person, then I that tells me that it's that person's not in alignment with me. And so because I was kind of like that with him, it was like, and I mean, I gave him the floor, I gave him space to say whatever it is that he wanted to say. And it was like, he didn't. So, and then he told me he was going to call me back and never did. So the accountability is still not there. The responsibility, none of it. Like, I can't. Like, I just cannot. I can't understand the logic of some people. Like, why say you're going to call me later? Like, even when, as far as ask me what time you get off or whatever, okay, I'm going to call you then, and didn't call. So, all kinds of excuses could be made, but I was minding my own business and you called me in the first place. So, why am I then going to go out of my way to accept your excuses just to have you in my life? No, I'm not desperate. I'm not trying to, no. Either you're going to put the effort in and you're going to, because you're the one that was wrong. The ball's in your court. It's kind of like we were playing catch and I threw him the ball and he's just holding on to it. So you're either going to throw me the ball or you're going to keep holding on to it and play catch with somebody else. Like, at this point, and so, and it's just like the whole conversation was just real sketchy. Like, you're not ready. Stop coming after me and you're not ready. Like, that's a public service announcement to all the men out there. Please stop going after these women that you want, but you're not ready for. If it's meant to be, like with me and Sora, if it's meant to be, naturally the universe is going to put you both in positions to be ready for each other at some point. It's going to happen in divine timing. It's going to happen the way that it's supposed to happen. You don't have control over that. So stop trying to control it by inserting yourself into a person's life when you see that they're moving on and you see that they're doing well without you, then you want to jump up and try to, throw them off course. No, don't call me out of the blue. So that's what happened. So he called me, whatever. So, right at the perfect time, right? I had just gone on lunch break. Perfect time for me to answer the phone. Like, because I actually looked at my phone and he had messaged me like a couple hours before. And so he called or whatever right before I could even respond to the other message. And so it was just that like perfect timing. So, other stuff happened at work. I get off. I'm on my way home. I stop at the grocery store and, I buy my groceries and I'm walking home with my groceries. And so I'm leaving out of the grocery store and the plan was to walk home. So I like stop and I'm like looking at my receipt to make sure that all of because I'm a bargain girl, like I need to get my BOGOs and all of that kind of stuff. I don't care. So I made sure all of that was straight. And then I've like picked up my bags and I'm about to start walking. And this lady pulls up in her car right next to me. And she's like, where are you, like, how far are you going? And I had to think about it for a second because, my mind state was on getting home, like focused on walking home or whatever, which it was like it's like maybe a 20-minute walk to get home. Not even 15-minute walk from the grocery store. So, and I had a few bags. They were not that heavy, kind of heavy, not really. So, she was like, where are you going? So I had to think about it for a second and she asked me again, like, because I guess to her it kind of looked like I was like kind of not going to accept the ride. And she was like, where are you going? And I was like, I'm going over there on whatever road. And she was like, oh, okay, jump in the car. I got to run in the store real quick though to get something, but I can take you home or whatever. So, I didn't feel any, because normally around people I get this feeling. I didn't feel anything coming up about that person, about her, like nothing. Basically, my spirit, there was nothing in my spirit that was like apprehensive or on the fence about getting in the car with her. So I was like, okay, cool. So I put all my stuff in her car and I jumped in the front seat. And she pulled into the parking space, ran in the store. She was in there maybe 10 minutes or so. She came back out. She left me in her car with the windows down. Complete stranger. And so she came back and she was like, I hope I didn't spend too long in the store. And I'm like, look, I was raised that beggars can't be choosers. So basically, I'm getting a ride from you. It's not my place to say whether or not you were in the store long. Like, I'm just grateful for the ride home, even though I didn't ask for it. And so I was like, no, it's cool. Like, I didn't notice the time at all. And so, she gets in the car and I was like, the best way to go is this way. And so I was directing her. And so we pull up to my house 5 minutes later, not even. And, she's telling me about, some stuff or whatever. She was like, oh, this is a nice house that you live at. I guess she was surprised because I, was walking and I have a car. And I was like, yeah, and so we got into a conversation about the house and what the situation is or whatever. And she gave me like some advice about some more properties or whatever the case is. And so we were talking about that. And so I'm getting my stuff. No, this dog comes. So random. This dog just runs up. Like as soon as I open the door and I'm about to get my groceries out, this dog runs up to like into my yard, like where she's parked into the driveway, and just like jumps up onto my lap in the car. And I'm like, hi, like, oh my gosh. But I'm trying to like push it off because I didn't know whether or not she wanted the dog in her car or not. Because, some people are funny about animals. And so, turns out she loves dogs. So she like told the dog to jump up in her car. And so, we're standing there with the dog. And the owner comes running up and he's like, come on, calling the dog or whatever. And the dog did not want to leave. Like it was kind of looking at its owner like, I know you're calling me. And in any other situation I would come. But I'm over here trying to talk to this lady. So the dog just comes, and the dog had two different kind of eyes. Like, they were two different colors, and she kept staring at me, like, in my eyes. And I, like, petted her. Like, she wouldn't leave until I petted her. Until I, like, acknowledged that she was there or whatever the case is. And then she left. Well, no, they left. The guy came, and he had another smaller dog. And so we were talking to him or whatever. Turns out he's my next door neighbor. I haven't met him yet, but So we talked for a little bit, and then he brought his dogs home. And then I was about to leave the lady, and I was like, by the way, my name is Rashida. And she was like, get out of here. Like, she was just like, like basically, like, just couldn't believe it. And I was like, I was confused. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? I thought she meant, like, we had just gone through all of this, and we're just now telling each other, we're just now introducing ourselves. Like, we just basically had a whole moment together, a few moments, and we're just now, oh, by the way, this is my name, something basic that you should tell somebody when you first meet them. Like, that's what I'm thinking she's saying. And she's like in her phone, and she's like, I gotta show you something. And so she pulls up this picture of her daughter, and guess what her daughter's name is? Rashida. Spelled differently, but beautiful girl or whatever. And she's like, yeah, that's my daughter, and she has other kids. And we start talking, and then she was like, oh, and by the way, my name is Deborah. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. You are not serious. Like, and now it's my turn to like be like, are you fucking kidding me? Guess what my mother's name is? And so like I was like, no fucking way. My mother's name is Deborah, and your daughter's name is Rashida. And like we just sat in that moment, and I was like, wow, look at God. And she was like, yeah, make sure you share that with somebody. And so that's why I'm making this video, because I promised her that I would share it. And also I forgot to mention, as I was sitting in the car waiting for her to come out of the grocery store, this homeless lady walked up to the window. And normally I'm like, get the fuck away, like, goodbye, because I'm just at that point. But lately I've been feeling like paying it forward. And so sometimes I'm in the mood to pay it forward, and sometimes I'm just like, get out of my face. And apparently that I was just in the right vibration. And so, she was giving me her story or whatever, and I was like, all right, how much do you want? And she was like, at first she asked me for $2. And then she was like, oh, I got to go give this lady $2. You know how they are. They always have a story. And I was just like, and then she finally asked for $5. And I'm like, all right, I'll give you the $5, but what are you going to use it for? And she, of course, gave me a story about trying to get her place back and blah, 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 and whatever. And I was like, and she was like, if I see you again, I'm going to pay you back. No, just pay it forward. Pay it forward. And she looked at me and she was like, you just gave me $5, you're gonna get 300. And I like kind of smiled and like, laughed it off or whatever. And she was like, no, I'm serious, you're gonna get the money back. And it was just weird to me when she said that, because like, first off, the fact that she would say that and not what homeless people normally say when you give them money, and then just the energy that was around it when she said it. She was like, you're gonna be blessed for giving me this money, even though it's a little $5. And it was kind of confirmation. And then like the day before, I had lunch with this random homeless guy. He was sitting, I don't even know if he was homeless, but he didn't look like somebody that I would normally sit and have lunch with. No judgment, but just to give you guys the picture of what this guy looked like. But I was in the McDonald's, and I was ordering my food at the kiosk, and he was sitting like in the booth right next to the kiosk. And he was like, he said something to me. He was like, are you behaving yourself? And I was like, that's an interesting question to ask someone. And I was just like, most of the time I am. So I said some of the time or most of the time, one of those. And we like shared a laugh. And he was like, he asked me what my sign was, and he said he was an Aries. And I was like, I'm a Leo. And then we were like, yeah, we're both fire signs or whatever. We got into this whole conversation, and he basically gave me a random confirmation too. There's a path that I'm thinking about going on to. And he like literally dead ass like said it. And he was like, go ahead and do whatever. Like, let's say that the path that I'm trying to go on is I want to become a veterinarian, something random, right? He basically was like, go ahead and become a veterinarian, but it's not that. I just don't want to, because it's not in motion yet. I don't want to speak about it, but basically what was on my mind, and I was asking, like I had prayed the night before for some confirmation about it, like some clarity about what my what my next goal should be, what I should be working towards next. And that's what he said to me. So he was like, basically, we're just having a random conversation, and just out of the blue, he was like, go ahead and do it. And I was like, wow. Wow. And so we had a conversation, and I sat there and I ate with him, and come to find out, he had a whole life traveling and doing all of these different kind of things, and he wasn't homeless. He just, preferred to look how he looked. And I totally get that, because people would think that I don't have any money, or that I'm not as established that I am, if they would see me randomly on the street. Like walking home with groceries, like you would think, no, but I just choose, it's good exercise, one. And two, I just don't want to be bothered with a car right now. Especially because the goals that I'm going for requires a lot of traveling, and having a car, like traveling overseas, and I don't want to have to ship a car. So, and traveling and being away for a long time, and being like in a situation where I wouldn't need a car for a long time. So it's just right now, it's just better for me to not have one. 1616, as I said that. And so I've always wanted to do that. Like I've always seen, like I watch tarot readings, and sometimes they do that 1616 on the phone or whatever, or on the time, or on the clock, or whatever. So yeah. So the energy has been awesome lately. It's been awesome lately. I've been feeling free. I've been feeling really good. I've been feeling really light. People that have been coming into my life have just been awesome. And yeah, I think that's the end of this video. And until next time, be well.